Hi parents. I just wanted to make a very quick, brief video on grading and how that's going to look like for remote learning in third grade. I know that in second grade, at least at Millikan, if your student went to Millikan last year, or maybe this even was similar at a different school that your child went to before, but at Millikan in third grade, we start letter grades. So, just like your traditional grades, A, B, C, D, F, and we have percentages that go along with those grades. I will be posting those on our Bitmoji classroom, so you can see, and your child can also see what each percentage means. And if they got a 93%, they can see, oh, that is an A. So, and I'll also kind of make a little bit more kid-friendly version, so your child will understand kind of how to read the letter grades, because it is very new to them as well. And in this email, I'm also going to attach the letter grade percentages and corresponding to which grades that they go to. And so I just wanted to touch on a couple of things with you today. Basically, I've had some parents ask how tests are going to look like in remote learning, and it's taken a while for me to kind of figure that out too. So upon talking with all of the other third grade teachers here at Millikan and just in the district in general, we will do all of our tests on either Google Forms or Seesaw. So it just depends. Spelling tests will be done on Google Forms, vocabulary done on Seesaw, and comprehension tests. It just kind of depends. So each week it might be a little bit different depending on what test it is. But you can always expect that they will be on Seesaw or Google Forms. Now, if you want your child to do a paper test, a paper copy of a test, please let me know, because I understand that that might be a little bit more beneficial for your child. So please let me know if that's something that you would be interested in, and I can definitely make that happen for you. The second thing I wanted to talk to you about today is just when your child is taking his or her test, no matter what test it is, I would really, really appreciate if you do not help them with that test. Now, of course, if your child needs help reading a certain word, that is fine. But for example, in spelling, just please do not tell them how to spell the word. Or if it's in math, don't tell them how to solve the problem. In class, I cannot help students at all when they're taking an assessment, and it's really important that it kind of stays similar for you when your child is taking the test at home. I know it's really hard to watch students struggle, and as an educator, it's also hard for me to watch students have a difficult time in class, and it breaks my heart sometimes that I can't help them. But ultimately, that's how they're going to grow and become a better student, is because then I will have an accurate judgment on whether or not they understand the concepts, and I can kind of decide where to go from there. If you're helping your child with every assessment that he or she is taking, then their grades will not reflect what they do know and what they still need help with. So ultimately, having an accurate assessment of what your child knows will really help facilitate their learning and their growth in the future. And I also know that it is a lot faster for you to help your child with something than let them struggle through it for a couple minutes. And I feel that way as well in class. It would be a lot more fast if I just helped the students through everything that they needed help with, and then we just moved on with our day. But ultimately, that is not going to help your child. That's not beneficial for them at all. The way that we learn is by doing it ourselves and by making mistakes ourselves. So I would greatly appreciate if you could please just keep those things in mind when you are having your child take a test at home or wherever your child might be taking the test at. Another thing I wanted to tell you is that students can redo assignments on just a case-by-case basis. So depending on what assignment it is and depending on how well your student did, they could redo that assignment possibly. So I will let you know in the future with different tests if they're able to redo it. If your child does not if we have a spelling test out of 16 points and your child only gets half of those words correct, then of course I will let your child redo that test one time, because I would normally do that in class. Same thing goes for a math test. Just depending on what grade your child receives on that test, I can let them redo it and try for a better grade. And then the last thing is that I understand that kids act differently for their parents than for their teacher. I don't have kids of my own, but I have definitely heard from a lot of people that that is the case. And I can say when I was a child, I definitely acted different for my mom and dad than I did for my teacher. So if your child is taking a test or really any assignment at home, but especially a test, and they tell you that they do not understand, they want you to help them. They say, well, what do you mean you can't help me? I'm at home with you. You're my mom. You're my dad. Please help me. Something that you could say back to them is try to tell them, this is what I do in class. Think back on what you've learned this week. Try to take a deep breath. I really emphasize the use of taking deep breaths to get kids to calm down at school. So that could also be a useful tool at home. Take a deep breath. Think back on what you've learned this week. Try your best. And I always tell students that if they really, truly do not know an answer to a question, then they just need to take their best guess. If they say that this is hard and they say, I don't want to do this, this is too hard, then something that you could say is, yes, it is going to be challenging, okay? I tell my students that not everything is easy in life. In fact, a lot of things worth having and worth working for are actually very challenging. So that's a conversation that you can always have with your child too, is that yes, this is hard, this is difficult, but take your time and use your best effort and try having a more positive mindset about it. And ultimately you will do better on the test if you just have a positive view on it, if that makes sense. So just kind of telling your kids, yes, this is hard, but I just want you to try your best. And that's all Miss Johnson wants you to do as well. You can always tell them that I want them to try their best, and that kind of thing too. If you notice that your child is rushing, sometimes I notice this in class, I go over to them. So just please tell your child to just slow down, take their time, read things carefully. I have a lot of students in the past that have made really silly mistakes mistakes that don't need to be made if they had just slowed down and taken their time. So that is what you could say to them if that is happening. And I also realize that maybe these kind of things, saying it to your child, won't work. So if you are finding that it's not working and your child is still being defiant and refusing to do these things or throwing a fit while taking tests, then please contact me, and I would be more than happy to set up a Google Meet with your child and you, and we can all kind of talk about it, brainstorm a strategy together to help your child not feel so frustrated during tests, and also to help you too, because I know that you are the one that's primarily dealing with it at this time. So I would also be more than willing to set up a behavior plan with you, not just with tests, but if you notice that your child is being very defiant at home and having a really bad attitude towards school, I would love to set up some kind of behavior incentive plan for you or for your child with you. So, it would look like having a different reward at the end of the week if they did all of their work without complaining and things like that. So if that's something that you're struggling with, please reach out and let me know. So that is all I wanted to tell you today about grading. I'm sorry this video was a little bit longer than I had anticipated. Thank you for watching the video if you stuck around this long. And as always, let me know if you have any questions or need anything else. Bye.